Lucas' housing promises match what the NDP has pledged. For instance, on rent control, the Liberals would also expand it to cover new buildings, reversing an exemption the Ford government granted in 2018. But unlike the New Democrats, the Liberals would not cap rent increases between tenants.
We happen to believe that's the best way to go forward.
The platform's costing shows similar deficits to what the PC government projected in its budget last month.
There is nowhere for us to hide on this. We are literally showing you, pulling back the curtains and showing you exactly what we will do on your behalf, exactly how we will pay for it.
One big difference between this platform and the PC budget is that the Liberals claim that they can get an extra $600 million in revenue from the federal government just by renegotiating the childcare deal. The platform shows the Liberals balancing the budget on the same timeline as the PCs. Del Duca now heads to North Bay to join his three rivals for a debate focused on Northern Ontario. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The U.S. Senate will vote on Wednesday on legislation that would enshrine abortion rights into law. This follows last week's leak of a U.S. Supreme Court draft opinion suggesting the court could be poised to overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion nationwide. CBC's Magda Gabrisalesa has the latest.
Democrats are really hoping that they can get the votes to pass this legislation, but it is unlikely, and that is because of the filibuster, a Senate rule that essentially requires 60 votes to pass legislation. So that means Democrats are going to need 10 Republicans to vote along with them.
We can always hope, and we must have this vote. Every senator must show where he or she stands.
I think Roe v. Wade created a constitutional right that doesn't exist in the written Constitution. It's created division from the first day it was decided until now.
Now, over the weekend, protesters were continuing to take to the streets from Kansas City to San Diego to right here at the Supreme Court.
Since I was in high school, we have had this right, and I don't think that the young girls today yet understand what it would be like not to have it.
Meanwhile, police in Wisconsin say they're investigating an arson at the office of an anti-abortion group. They also say they found a spray-painted message that said, if abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either. So it's clear that reactions and political actions continue to come in from that leaked Supreme Court document last week. Magda Gabrisalesa, CBC News, Washington.
Vladimir Putin marked the Soviet victory against Nazi Germany in the Second World War today. It's as Moscow wages a war of its own against its neighbor. The Russian leader used the stage and the patriotic event to justify his decision to send Russian troops to Ukraine. But as Russia deals with the high cost of invading a NATO ally, the West is trying to determine his plans beyond the rhetoric. Chris Brown reports.
Above all, war is now what characterizes Russia under Vladimir Putin. And today was a national celebration of it. Putin justified Russia's invasion of Ukraine, claiming it was either attack or be attacked by the West, although there is zero evidence anyone planned to do that. Putin framed this war as akin to the Second World War against fascists and Nazis, although it's Russian soldiers now being condemned for committing war crimes and atrocities in Ukraine.
For them and for Putin, there can be no victory day. Only dishonor and surely defeat in Ukraine.
On the streets of Moscow and largely across the country, it is Putin's narrative that's celebrated. Russia's cause is always right, said Igor, and Russia has a lot of enemies. It's a pity all of this is happening now, said another woman, but it's being done for the good. But Putin did not declare full-time war mobilization, scaling up Russia's military effort by drafting soldiers to fight, although this analyst says he may still do so.
Russia cannot sustain this war given the resources it has been using so far, so it has to have more men physically, more people with arms fighting in Ukraine, and there are very little opportunities to get them from elsewhere.
Russia's NATO opponents, meanwhile, spent Victory Day doing military drills on the Black Sea, about 120 kilometers from Ukrainian waters, carrying out a special operations exercise. NATO now has more ships, soldiers, and equipment along its eastern border with Russia than it's had in decades. The buildup has been rapid and dramatic. NATO has gone from having 4,000 troops in Eastern Europe before Russia's invasion to 10 times that many now.
Ukraine and everything that happens over there is a threat. A threat.
Hurrah! What is no clearer after this day, though, is how Putin plans to finish the war he started. Chris Brown, CBC News, off Constanta, Romania.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky marked the Second World War victory by promising that the war-ravaged nations will have 2 victory days to celebrate soon.
Перемогли тоді, переможемо і зараз. І Хрещатик побачить парад перемоги. Перемоги України.
He was, of course, referring to Russia's war on his country, which has now entered its 11th week with no end in sight. Russian forces have renewed their efforts to wipe out the remaining Ukrainian fighters holed up in a steel plant in Mariupol. The strategic port city appears close to being fully overtaken by the invading army. U.S. estimates that Russia has about 97 battalions deployed, mostly in the east and south Ukraine. But its troops haven't made much progress in the much-prized Donbas region as Ukrainian forces offer stiff resistance. A Ukrainian dance group here in Windsor is stepping up to raise funds for those suffering from the war. The Barvyunuk Dance Ensemble is rehearsing for a benefit dinner to be held later this month. But as Jacob Barker found out, the goal isn't just to raise money for Ukraine, it's to raise awareness about the culture as well.
A lot of hard work. We are really excited to be able to perform and kind of showcase to the community what we've been working on and how passionate we are about dance and helping Ukraine, and lots of sweat and time, and really excited to be able to show people what we've got cooking. It definitely has kind of changed, for me at least, changed the meaning behind what we're doing it. I've been dancing since I was a little kid because I'm from a Ukrainian family. I'm a 3rd generation Canadian Ukrainian. So that's all I've ever known. But now, in the wake of everything, it has definitely put into perspective kind of the power of culture and dance, and it's really impactful to be able to still do this today. I think what we're doing is kind of showing that we're still here, we're not going anywhere, and the kind of the strength of the Ukrainian community is not solely localized in Ukraine, but around the world. Although Ukraine seems far away, you know, they are our mothers, fathers, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and to be able to do something for them in our local community, I think is the least that we can do.
To raise awareness, one thing, for cultural exposure, another. You know, I love the fact that a lot of people never knew that Ukraine was a country before this happened. Everybody thought, oh, you're Ukrainian, oh, so you're Russian. Well, no, we're not Russian, we're Ukrainian. So that's the one great thing that actually has come out of this unfortunate war. So that's great, but, you know, just the exposure for Ukrainians to get, you know, Ukrainian help, to get local help, to get the community involved in different aspects, to show off our culture and our heritage that we're very proud of.
Now, not wanting to be left out, Jacob thought he'd put his 2 steps in and give those moves a try.
What are you going to show me? We're going to show you a basic guy step called Priset Priset Sonce. Okay. So ready? Yeah. Hold on. So squat, kick, present. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Down, kick, together, present. Okay. Now your turn, all by yourself. Ready? No, we'll do it. Can you do it? We'll do it with you. 5, 6, 7, 8. Down, kick, together, present. Beautiful. Thank you.
I'm going to be honest with you, it hurts my knees a little bit just looking at that, but all that triggered some wonderful memories for me because I grew up dancing Bulgarian folklore, which has a lot of similarities to Ukrainian folklore. So that was awesome to see. A live look outside there at a beautiful sunshiny day. We've got sunny skies all week long. Colette will be here after the break with more. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is here now for what is promising to be a beautiful look at the week ahead. But before we get into it, Colette, the people want to know, is it time to put our shovels away? Can we do it?
Yeah, and I was asked this question, last month, and I said, I was like, we had a little warm stretch. I'm like, nope, not ready to commit to that at all. I'm ready to commit to that, yes. And yeah, I know. We can celebrate, change your closets over, get the winter tires off, take the brushes out of your car. And the other thing, that I do, at this time of year is I finally change over those legends that I have on some of my maps, which show the colors for snow and freezing rain and mixed precipitation. I just change them over to more of a summer-like in terms of just what the intensity of rainfall will be and thunderstorms. And I'm starting to work my way through my graphics for that too. So just have a look at these temperatures. I do want to point out that it's close to 30 degrees in Chicago, Moosonee 22 degrees, and in fact the warm spot in Ontario, Kapuskasing at 24. So yeah, it's nice in Windsor, but there's even some milder air around, and those temperatures will be climbing in southwestern Ontario over the next few days. Where you get that breeze, where you have the impact of the lake, temperature a little cooler anywhere along the lakeshore, you're going to feel that as well, because it's just going to be the nature of the colder water still at this time. They haven't warmed up yet, that you'll have that impact. Now, those winds, they are a little stronger to the west of us, but not too significant, east to southeasterly in terms of what we're seeing. Nothing in terms of precipitation. I broaden out our view here on the radar, and hey, this is all high pressure protecting us, so that's fair weather, that's sinking and stable air, that's sunshine. You do see a little bit of active weather and some of those lightning strikes to northwestern Ontario and into the prairies, but that is going to have to go around this ridge of high pressure. It is going to dominate and protect us. And so, yeah, at times a little more cloudiness, fair weather cloud moving in. As humidity will be building, though, as we get towards the end of the week. By the way, comfortable sleeping conditions tonight. As it builds, then that air becomes a little buoyant. It doesn't take as much of a trigger. So we could start to see into the weekend a few pop-up showers or thunderstorms here and there. But look at this run. I mean, it's incredible what we're going to be seeing this week.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, beekeepers say that they're seeing major colony losses. So we'll have more on that after the break.
home.
Welcome back. Canadian beekeepers in many parts of the country are reporting major colony losses. And it not only presents a threat to the supply of honey, but also to other products and fruits that depend on bees for pollination. The CBC's Sarah Levitt takes a closer look at what could be killing the bees and the impact on the food we eat.
This whole area will be covered in white flowers.
The season is just getting started on Luc de Couber's farm. Once a banker, he gave it up to devote his time entirely to cranberries. But they're becoming harder and harder to grow.
If there's not an animal or someone that can pollinate them, we will have no fruit.
The animal he's talking about? Honeybees.
We couldn't live without the bees. We need them absolutely.
About a third of the food that we eat, and it's the most nutritious and delicious component of our diet, is pollinated by bees.
This region 2 hours northeast of Montreal is Canada's cranberry capital and the second largest producer of the fruit in the world. The industry brings in millions of dollars and provides thousands of jobs. De Couber can no longer rely on natural pollination, so he rents bees, like many other farmers who need the extra help. This winter, though, Canadian beekeepers have seen hive deaths like never before.
It's more difficult to get some hives. We're talking with the beekeepers, and they say they have a lot of death during the winter.
This year has been pretty devastating.
A third-generation beekeeper, Sébastien Laberge, lost 70% of his bees over the winter. Half of his business is renting them out for pollination, and that's hard to do with such loss.
We get calls every day for either blueberry, cranberry. We just don't have any bees right now to contract out.
The largest culprit is the varroa mite, a parasite which feeds on the bees. Climate change and pesticides also play a role. Another issue is monoculture, the cultivation of a single crop. It provides bees with only one nutrient source, weakening their health.
If we have no bees, I don't think we're going to survive.
A scary thought for de Couber and farmers across the country. This year, he has been able to get his hands on enough bees to pollinate his crop, but he worries about the years to come. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, St. Louis de Blanford, Quebec.
That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You'll find all of our election coverage there as well. And we're on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Thanks so much for watching and have a great night.